Hi, I'm Steve Malavé with Telemundo's ENFOQUE California, and joining me this week is Sacramento Mayor Darrell Steinberg. Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for being with us.
Nice to be with you, Steve. Thank you for having me.
Undoubtedly, we've had some very trying weeks for the city of Sacramento with the case of the death of Stephon Clark. And there are many people in the community who feel they are hurting. They are demanding justice. How do we heal our city?
Well, first of all, the Stephon Clark case is a tragedy. And regardless of the legal conclusions here around whether the officers acted within the scope of policy and protocol, the outcome is plain wrong, and I think we need to acknowledge that. And our goal and our responsibility as a city is to do everything we can to not only ensure that that doesn't happen again by looking at police protocol training and procedure and the issues of race and the relationship between police and our community, but also an opportunity with the national spotlight to address the systemic issues of poverty and income inequality and the state of life, the quality of life in many of our neighborhoods. And that's exactly what we intend to do. So there's tremendous amount of pain and trauma and anguish. The city is bearing up well in the sense that there's been no violence. The protests have been vigorous but largely peaceful. And now our work is to not only heal, but to change what must be changed. And so I view this period of time as, yes, very difficult, but as the mayor of this city, a singular opportunity for us to not only show the way for the rest of the country, but to bind the wounds in real ways in our communities, especially our communities of color.
Undoubtedly, still a lot of frustration. We saw that at the recent city council in the hearings, and we know that now the state attorney general is looking into the case. Your police chief made some unprecedented moves by releasing that video earlier than in other cases we've seen around the country. What would you say to those people who feel as though there's no hope in the justice system? How do you answer that?
Well, first of all, we're blessed to have a great police chief in the city who did take the unprecedented move to release the video within 3 days, and then contacted the Attorney General and asked if the Attorney General would agree to provide an independent review of the facts of the case and make their own determination, even if it was different from what the district attorney might do. That was a confidence builder. I understand the concern and the belief from many in our community that when it comes to officer-involved shootings in the state, in the city, and in the country, that they feel that justice often is not done, and we must change the perception. And the way you change the perception, I believe, is to create as much independence as possible. I'm really for the state legislation, in fact, strongly for the state legislation, that would take these decisions in officer-involved shootings that involve the death of a citizen. I would take that out of the hands of the local district attorney in all cases, and with the proper resources, because it would take real resources for the Attorney General here to do it, to allow the Attorney General to do the investigation. I think that would go a long way towards dealing with the perception. I will say in this given instant case, I really praise the Attorney General because he didn't have to agree to step in as he has, and he did, and I thought that was real leadership.
Undoubtedly. We are seeing, this gets back to a question of economics and those who have and don't have. You've got a very aggressive agenda and plan called Project Prosper. Can you talk to us a little bit more about that?
Yes, I can. I mean, there's a dynamic going on in our city and our community. There's tremendous excitement about what I call the Great Sacramento Renaissance. The fact that Sacramento is becoming known even nationally as a destination city, whether it's our food scene, whether it's the fact that we're considered the green city by Electrify America, the center of innovation and technology. We're making a big announcement this week about our partnership with UC Davis to create an innovation hub in Oak Park. There's a lot of exciting things going on. And yet there is a fundamental disconnect between that excitement and the day-to-day lives of many of the people living in our communities and our neighborhoods. And Project Prosper, which is our effort to make economic development and economic growth a singular priority for our city, is about connecting what is currently disconnected, to make sure that as we grow, that it's the kids from our neighborhoods, from Meadowview, from North Sacramento, from Del Paso Heights, from Oak Park, from South Sacramento, that they're educated and trained and first in line for these new jobs. It's about the housing crisis and the increasing cost of housing and stepping in and taking some reasonable measures to provide people relief. It's a whole host of things. And so over the weeks ahead, we will be making a number of announcements that I hope show that the city is committed to significant and unprecedented investments in all of our low-income neighborhoods, and so that gap is lessened, and all of our people have a chance to take part in the renaissance in our city.
You're mentioning that it's for everybody. That includes folks who are homeless and those who are mentally ill.
Yes.
You are a champion for the mentally ill, and I know that that's something that you're very passionate about. How does that fit into this Project Prosper?
Well, when I was in the state legislature, I authored California's Mental Health Services Act, the so-called millionaire's tax, that has raised $2 billion a year for mental health services in California. And Sacramento County gets its share of that money in the tens of millions of dollars. Look, I believe homelessness is one of the single biggest threats, not only to our humanity, but to our economic future. Because it not only is an issue of conscience, but is the #1 issue I hear from the business community, from many of our neighborhoods, because homelessness is not just a core downtown issue, it's spread. And before I became mayor, the numbers in our county increased 85%. So we've been very aggressive about it and purposeful. In my first year, we put together $108 million of federal, state, and local resources to combat this problem. Next month, we're going to have 30 to 35 new clinically trained outreach workers on the streets, intervening with people and not giving up if somebody says, I don't want help. We've got $44 million of mental health services from the county through Prop 63, the Mental Health Services Act. This year, our focus is going to be on housing. We need more triage shelter, like what we've done in North Sacramento. 200 of the most intractable homeless folks who have been on the streets for decades, some of them, are now in shelter. We need to triple that capacity. We seek to build 1,000 efficiency homes and more so we can permanently house people. I've committed to raising $20 million from the private sector to supplement what we're doing publicly to get 2,000 people off the streets over the next 3 years. This is an imperative, and we're going to do our very best again to try to make Sacramento a model of how to do it right.
Last question, Mr. Mayor. You have publicly endorsed Gavin Newsom for governor and our current U.S. Senator Dianne Feinstein for re-election. Why did you choose to endorse these two candidates?
Well, I've worked very closely with Lieutenant Governor Newsom for many, many years, and he shares my passion for addressing the homeless crisis, the housing crisis, mental health, and I believe he has a great vision for our state, and so I'm proud to support him. On the U.S. Senate race, tougher for me because Kevin De Leon was my dear friend and succeeded me as pro tem in the Senate. I think very, very highly of him. But Senator Feinstein, I think in the era and age of Trump, especially, I just believe we need her experience, her knowledge of the intelligence world and foreign policy, and it's a difficult time, and I just, she's been an ally of mine as well for many, many years, has supported me in my key elections, and I just think at this time she's earned re-election.
And I'm Steve Malavé with Telemundo's ENFOQUE California. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you on TV on Channel 33.